So I've gone ahead and created these objects. They're conceptual masses. No, they're not conceptual masses. They're generic models, excuse me. And I've added white color to them. I've added white to the floor surface and the ceiling surface by creating these uniquely new light study roof. This I've done to brighten up surfaces. And I've actually created, if we were to go and edit that type, just so you can see quickly here, and go into structure, you'll see I have white for lighting created. And I've gone and made a white for light texture. In the appearance palette, I've given it a little bit of reflectivity by clicking on this and dialing that way down. And I've lightened up the color by making the white surfaces not completely white, but just slightly shy of that. And so I've done that to the walls and to the floors. And the boxes have that same material added to them. They are, oops, that one just disappeared. If I was to go in and double click on these and edit it, let's see if I can grab one here. Edit in place. If I was to go ahead and grab that and just double click, and I'll get back to its geometry. So it's 2 foot deep by 4 foot wide. And then I extrude it up. Let's see what I extruded up to be. 2'8", so it's a 32-inch working surface. 24, 32, yeah. And the material applied to it is with the white for light study. And so I'll just cancel out of that. And I place these so that they're just objects in space, so I can see what the work surface looks like as far as illumination and what the back surface is. And then I've gone ahead and set up a rendering setting. So let's go ahead and look at how we're going to render this scene. So once again, actually I haven't discussed the camera angle. So I'm going to grab the crop box and select it so that when we go to level 1, you'll get a visualization of the camera angle. So there's all the boxes. The idea is that I'm shooting towards the south to the corner of the building, and I'm including the atrium just to see the contrast between an apertured area and a full open glazed area. So that sets kind of the tone for the analysis. What we want to do when we go to render it is we're going to render it in draft mode. I have the lighting scheme set up for sun and artificial, but we have no artificial light sources. But what's important here is that we set up our location. And I've gone ahead and done this, and I'll explain a little bit about this idea of selecting our place. First, I want to tell you of an error that happens. If I was to, first time you open this dialog box is going to open very small. And so if I was to say, I'll type in Alfred again, and go ahead and, I'll call it station this time, and go ahead and search, it's not going to exactly show me that it's selected that area. And the reason is that there's something going on in this dialog box that's not showing up because it's so small. And here's what it is. It's the query that it's making of wanting me to pick the exact location. In this case, we really want it to be Alfred. So I'm going to select that. It'll select it for me. I'm still not getting good feedback on that, but I'm set for that. And I'll click OK. That says Alfred, New York, so I'm all set. I picked a lighting time for October, the idea of the sun being low in the sky, the time of day being late in the day, just as create an interesting lighting scenario. So now if we go ahead and render this, I think it's important to note that it'll render at this draft mode very quickly, and that's really fine resolution for what we want to do. And you can see the amount of light coming in is plenty, and the level of detail of the scene. Now if your scene looks dark, you can adjust this exposure, and I may have already done this by changing this as a very sensitive dial, but this is how you change the level of apparent brightness of that. So there you're there to change that. And then you want to save these to whatever name you want to call this view and the style of window that you've attached to it. And you just go save the project and save it with that name. It'll use that name and the title block underneath it, so you'll be all set. And then once you're done with that rendering, what you want to do is make variations to the theme. So you want to change this aperture opening. So you select the wall, tab in until the module shows up, the family element. of the curtain panel, and then go to Edit Type. And this is where you get a chance to change whatever you want to. So if you want to make that window now a slit, we're going to make it 12 inches wide. Remember, this is half the window width. And we'll apply that. Now the window is a slit. You can see how it's changing the background. And then you just go quickly ahead again, go to View, re-render that scene again. And you don't want to change any of these settings now. You really don't want to change the exposure because you want it to be representative of the change in the amount of light that's coming into the scene, so that when you lay them out onto a sheet, you're comparing apples to apples, so to speak. So there you are. You save it to the project, and so far and so forth. So on the final one, I'll put together the whole idea of creating a layout sheet for that, and get you set up for the submittal.